Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for November 18th, 2016, the WNW 261. And I want to start my real newscast with the fake news that's being reported that Google and supposedly Facebook are going to try to, take fake news seriously. I think this could be an end run around freedom of speech. That all of a sudden, after the ultra left-wing New World Order, liberal, progressive, socialist / communist, possible Nazis, lost the election, even though they had dirty tricks, vote rigging, election fraud, voter fraud, dirty tricks that something that the Nazis would go and they actually did this. They would go to the other side. They would foment violence and say, look how violent those people are. And that's exactly what Project Veritas caught on camera, all the collusion with the mainstream press, all the fakery going on, and yet it's the fake news sites. Now, are there fake news sites? Sure, yes, there are some fake news sites out there that get it wrong and they don't quote things correctly. I spent a lot of time trying to understand and trying to ferret out what's real and it's not real, what's photoshopped, what isn't, what's actual real news and real stats and what isn't. But they came up with this professor Melissa Zimanders, assistant professor at communications at Merrimack College in Massachusetts, came up with a list of fake news. She calls it fake, misleading, clickbaity, and satirical news and sources, and then she listed among a couple of dozen or more, Infowars in Breitbart.com. Now, there may be some fake news sites out there, but I would not consider Infowars or Breitbart.com to be a fake news site. Now, do they have a lot of click ads on their site? Yes. That doesn't mean their content is fake. And I worked at 5 TV stations and 2 networks as an investigative reporter. I wouldn't even bring this up if I thought they were fake news. They are not. You don't have the president-elect of the United States calling the head of Infowars, Alex Jones, if it's a fake news site. You don't have the president-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, hiring the guy that was the head of Breitbart, Steve Bannon, if it's a fake news site. Now, there's been all kinds of reports out that, Bannon is some sort of anti-Semite, and yet a bunch of very prominent Jewish people, including Alan Dershowitz, who the last I checked was a very good lawyer at Harvard and Jewish, and other prominent Jewish people saying that's out. It's a witch hunt. That's total bogus. That's absolutely not true. He's not anti-Semite. He's not anti-Semitic. And then they also want to bring out the fact that there's some sort of alt-right white hate white group like the KKK, want to bring that out, but they never a word about all the fake paid protesters. Now, are all these people paid? Probably not. Are some of them paid? Yes, they are. Not a word about the George Soros funding the MoveOn.org, like that's some sort of organic protest that happened from Ferguson on up. Not a word about George Soros funding, funding these fake protests. And these fake protests where they're advertising on Craigslist and they're bussing people in. They have photographs are reported at the quote unquote fake news sites like Infowars. What this is a suppression of free speech and a suppression of the people that just defeated you. I absolutely would not include Infowars and Breitbart in the fake news sites. Are there some fake news and satirical sites? Yes. Infowars is not a satirical news site. They do have some satire. They do have Paul Joseph Watson, who gives great analysis and very compelling and in some cases funny, but true. And also, Breitbart also does a lot of news analysis, but they also break stories. So including in this list, which is totally bogus, Infowars and Breitbart. Listen, what's going on, folks, is they want to discredit the mainstream media, which is being destroyed. I mean, the layoffs are already happening, and I have Gerald Celente. He's going to come on with his 2017 predictions. One of them is how much trouble the mainstream media is. It's being destroyed. It's destroying itself. Gerald Celente will be the early Sunday release on Sunday, but he brought up the point in the interview. He says, that they're losing power. So who are they attacking? People like Breitbart. People like Infowars. I wasn't on the fake news list, but I'm not so sure that's I feel kind of bad I wasn't on there. In a way, the guys that were really making a difference, Breitbart and Infowars, they're being included into the president-elect's list of people that he's calling and list of people he's hiring and things like that. But I digress. 100. Solonze brought this up. Every major newspaper across the country, who did they endorse? Hillary Clinton. Didn't make any difference. They lost huge. They lost big time. They lost whopping honking big. I mean, take a look at the map here. This is USA Today, and they had the map, and the red is the real estate that went to Trump, which, I mean, this was stunning up here. I mean, Kasich, the sitting governor of Ohio, and he lost a whole state. Other than, a couple of counties. Michigan also blasted. Most of Minnesota, Hillary squeaked that up. But anyway, these are all the states that helped Trump win, along with every other state. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's stunning. And while I'm on it, I mean, this is the reason why they say that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Not if you cancel out all the dirty tricks and all the other stuff. But not only that, but cancel out the voter fraud, the election fraud. One report has something like 3 million illegal immigrants could have possibly voted in this election. Pew Report says there's 24 million seriously corrupt, seriously deficient voter registrations. I mean, Clinton only won 6 states. There's another report out that says she stole 5 of them, but, I don't know. Listen, the fact remains she only won 6 states. And listen, there was voter fraud. The Dems, the ultra left-wing liberal, and the propaganda hacks in the legacy media. There's no voter fraud. Project Veritas caught it on camera that they were going to win this MFR. They got to win this. That they've been busting people in for years. This is all the dialogue they caught on camera. They were paying people. The DNC, Hillary Clinton gave money to the DNC. The DNC gave money to these guys. They gave money to the people fomenting violence. The guy fomenting violence in these videos, Project Veritas videos, went to the White House dozens and dozens of times and had 40 meetings with the president. They both quit. The story was so fake, they both quit. And so the voter fraud went on, which is why they want these sanctuary cities. And here's what I say about the sanctuary cities. De Blasio, the mayor there, they call him Big Bird on the right, but they call it, Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, says, we're going to protect immigrants. No, listen to me. Just before I left CNN, they sent out a memo. It was in 2007 or so. And they said, we're no longer going to say illegal aliens. So we're going to say undocumented workers. Undocumented. Rename it something it's not. They're here illegally. They're illegally collecting benefits. This is a form of fraud. And de Blasio is, we want to have these illegal aliens. Oh, you know what? Cut off the federal funding. Have de Blasio get out on local television and say, hey, listen, they cut off our funds, but we think we should have all these illegal immigrants. We want to raise the city tax, which is, I think, around 4%. We want to raise it to 5.5%. We want to, instead of you paying, $12.50 or $15, I don't know what it is now, to go through the Lincoln Tunnel, we want you to pay $25. We want to raise all the tolls. We want to raise all the taxes. We're not going to get this federal money. Let's see how that goes over with the, peace, love, and happiness progressives, if they have to pay for their progressive policies. And all the other Democrat mayors across the country that really are only having these sanctuaries because they're a sanctuary of voters. It's not a sanctuary for anybody else, especially the criminal aliens that Trump says there's 2 or 3 million here in America. So that's how it is. What I'm finding here in the mainstream press, they ignore stories like this where they're out in front of Trump Tower and they're saying rape Melania. Can you imagine having a sign saying rape Chelsea Clinton? Could you imagine having a sign like that at a protest with Trump supporters? Rape Chelsea Clinton. They'd go crazy. The legacy media, the progressives, they'd go nuts. They'd go crazy. Speaking of fake news, I just wanted to bring this up really quick. This is the news they say is not fake. So here we have the day the president of the United States, Obama, sitting president, meets the president-elect Trump. And, instead of, here is the big story. This is an unbelievable shot. Trump and Obama in the White House invites him in. They have that what was 15-minute talk turned into a 90-minute or so talk or just a little less. But here's the story they picked on the front page of USA Today on that day. And here it is. It's November 11th. This is the weekend edition. And what do they pick? Here we go. Yeah. Make America white again. It's on the back of a dugout in some podunk city in New York State. Make America white again. And this is, and the headline is Rise in Racist Acts Follows Election. Really? On the back of a little podunk dugout in some podunk city in New York, this is the rise of racism? The other thing that it could be is, the Democrats are full of dirty tricks, as Project Veritas and as WikiLeaks exposed to the bare bone. This is a statement of facts. How do you know that wasn't some Democrat operators going, oh, let's make sure we paint this false narrative of white racism and whitey and this alt-right white nation stuff. This is the top story. Some stupid little picture on the back of a dugout. That you don't know who did that? Probably, I think it could be Democrats. And this is supposed to be some nationwide trend. This is above the fold. False narrative. That's some fake news. How about that for some fake news? Why isn't that included in the list? And then here we have the election fallout here. And then we have critics, Twitter's alt-right ban may backfire. I'm talking about, this ban, and then here's how they characterize this thing, this rag of which stock price has been almost cut in half. They're also going to have big layoffs, according to Gerald Celente. He'll be the early Sunday release, I might remind you. And they're talking about how it's the alt-right's message. Twitter risks amplifying the message from a fringe white nationalist movement. Really? All the people who voted for Trump are white nationalists. That's totally false. Another totally false narrative to discredit Donald Trump and his administration that hasn't even been sworn in yet. It'll be sworn in the 20th of January. Totally false, fake news narrative. This is why they're dying. This is why people are canceling subscriptions. This is why they're being shunned. And listen, this is the sad thing about it, is that when the press really needs to come down on somebody for a real story, nobody's going to believe them. It's like the little boy that cried wolf. The Trump administration is not going to be perfect. They're going to have to have real watchdog press over what they're doing. But instead of being fair and honest and reasonable and judicious about how they're covering stories, they make up all kinds of false, phony narratives and all the they don't cover that. Some of these protesters are being paid and bussed in, and they're advertising them on Craigslist. That's not in there. We had Leslie Stahl asking President Trump, and Trump says to her at one point something like, well, these are paid. She says, well, are they all paid? I don't know, Leslie. Maybe you should have done your homework and found that out before you have the first interview with a president-elect in a landslide election. Maybe you should have found that out. Doofus. Legacy. Old-timey. Again, here we have, it's Leslie Stahl. Oh, she's a fair, they pay millions of dollars for this image of a fair arbiter of the truth when she was condescending and she didn't have her act together. She should have known, well, yeah, some of them are paid. Yeah, George Soros is paying some, but no. Why doesn't 60 Minutes get off its ass and do a story about how George Soros has been funding and fomenting violence and paying for protesters and paying for Black Lives Matter? How about that? That's not a story. Either is President Obama conversing the whole time with Hillary Clinton on his own private email account with an alias. That's not a story either. Speaking of the lamestream press, New York Times took such a hit. I mean, they took a huge hit this last quarter, and they should be planning the most lavish Christmas party ever. This is an election year in a highly contested, highly important, very tons of mass audience appeal and interest election year, and they're getting crushed. And what happened? Because subscribers and cancellations. And here is New York Times letter to subscribers to report. This is what they say they're going to pledge to do. They're going to report. They pledge to report America and the world honestly, without fear or favor, which means they were dishonest. That's the implication. They're saying this to their subscribers. Well, they're going to rededicate themselves to report honestly because they were dishonest. They painted false narratives. And then we believe we reported on both candidates fairly during the presidential campaign. Oh, what? You believe you reported fairly? That's why all these people ended up canceling subscriptions. This is why you're doing this, you idiots. New York Times reports a 95.7% fall in quarterly profit. And they're saying, we're gonna report fairly now, but we covered both candidates fairly. No, you did not. You idiot imbeciles. This is why Gerald Celente, who reads the New York Times every day, I just catch it online. He gets the hard copy, reads it every day. He says, no, they were totally unfair. Headline after headline after headline, day after day after day, totally unfair. They did not cover the candidates fairly, and they didn't. None of them did. This is another thing and this is something I wanted to bring you guys out to. So the real news, really quick, just some real big things that are going on that I want you to look at. And the first one is about Obama abroad. He's making his last swan song trip abroad. And here is the headlines, and this is the AP headline: Obama urges nations not to give in to isolationist impulses. Isolationist impulses? This is this New World Order crap that everybody hates. Open borders and all this uncontrolled immigration and all the crime and all the upheaval. Oh no, that's what they want. That's what they have guns and walls and guards, and we have nothing. And they wanted to take our guns away here in America. Thank goodness, Donald Trump. I mean, if Donald Trump doesn't do anything else, listen, he's going to have his problems. That's for sure. And I'm not out against him either. I'm just telling you this, and he's going to have problems. The United States is a very complicated thing with a lot of moving parts. And he's going to have some people he puts into office that he goes, "Don't, you didn't do that." But there's going to have some problems. He's going to have some problems that are beyond his control. I'll get to that in just a minute. Here's the other thing that Obama said, and this is in the same thing in Greece. Obama warns against a crude sort of nationalism taking root in the U.S. A crude, you mean like America first? I mean, like, I'm proud to be an American? That's some crude sort of nationalism? This is more this New World Order crap that doesn't work, and it doesn't help the common man. It only helps the elite. I mean, they don't want any laws. They don't want you to have any rights. They don't want you to have any guns. They want all the power and all the control and all the money, and you get just whatever we sweep off on the floor. That's President Obama. Louis Farrakhan has been, and other black people have been horribly critical of President Obama, especially Farrakhan. I brought this up in the past. He said he hadn't done anything. If you look at the math for black people, and if you look at the math, I mean, unemployment's way up. Food stamp use way up. I mean, the African Americans got creamed. I don't know how the Democrats get these people to vote for them. I mean, they're below the illegal immigrant that nothing's too good for them, and they're below the refugees that have fat packages and everything else. They're below, they're bottom of the barrel, and they're the citizens. They should be way above them. This is why a higher percentage of black people voted for Trump than anybody would like to admit. Speaking of problems, here's another big financial problem. And I've been watching this, and listen, even me, and I'm not a market expert. I talked to a lot of experts, and I also called my friend Gregory Manarino about this. And this is the 10-year Treasury. This is Thursday evening, right? This is 11/17. This is at 2.6%. This is at the time I took a little snapshot. 7/25, 16, just little less than 4 months ago, is at 1.6%. Are you looking at the rise here? Can you read that right here? 8.66% increase. 8.66% increase. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but I called an accounting friend of mine, Tunney, and he did he's got a couple of accounting degrees, forensic and otherwise, and he said, well, that's a lot higher. People don't realize it. Well, it's only 0.866, a little more than 3/4. It's closing in on a 1%, right? And he says, but that change, the percentage of change, that's the accounting term, is 59.31%. 59.31% in less than 4 months. Whoa! Now, the dollar's increasing. That makes some things cheaper for us. But for all these third world countries and for all these people holding our debt, watching these rates rise, that they're locked into a lower rate and the value of those bonds is going down, it's shrinking. All this European debt at negative interest rates. You bought negative interest rates bonds. You weren't counting on a 59% increase percentage-wise on interest rates in less than 4 months. That debt's getting killed. Anybody holding our previously issued 10-year Treasury notes at 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. He sell. So I talked to Bannerino about this, and he says, I'm actually stunned at the percentage of increase. And he says, if this doesn't get arrested soon, this could be the beginning of this big bond meltdown, he says to me. This is the beginning of this bond meltdown, Bannerino says, that I've been warning about, that, as rates go up. Michael Krieger said the same thing. If you look at a big chart from 1980, down. We're down in here, and we're going to do up. We're going up, and that's going to wreak havoc. That's going to wreak havoc on this. I've said for a long time. Sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do another take on this. I've said for a long time that that we've been told debt is money, Federal Reserve note, dollars, and we've been told debt is an asset, and neither is true. Neither is true. And I want to just come back to the final little thing that I want to bring up here. The final thing is, you talk about a Dewey wins. One of the newspapers when Truman ran the second time for re-election. One of the newspapers put a big headline, Dewey wins, and there's Truman holding up Dewey wins. It's a famous photo. Dewey wins, right? Well, here we go. This is Newsweek's cover. And they went ahead, they didn't print two covers, they just printed one thinking, oh, man, she's got it. Madam President. Madam President. They pulled all these covers off the store. Some of these magazines that they're selling for, crazy amounts of money. Some are selling for, $10, $15. Some are selling for $200, $300 for this cover, of course. Madam President. Here we find out that she went crazy on election night. That's what the reports are, that she threw a temper tantrum, that she just became unhinged, she was crying uncontrollably. This is some of the rumors. I'm just telling you some of the rumors. I can't confirm this stuff. It wasn't in the room. But she couldn't keep her composure. One thing's for sure, she didn't show up to talk to her supporters about, hey, thanks for supporting me. We lost. Nice try. Thank you very much. No. She shouldn't bother to show up. No. She was distraught. Now, you think about this. She wanted to be president, and she kept saying that Donald Trump was the one that was unhinged, that he was unstable, and she can't handle an election defeat. How could she handle a start of a global war, or the sinking of an aircraft carrier that would start a global war, or a nuclear strike on America, or how could she handle that if she just lost an election and went crazyville? I can't confirm that, but that's what the reporting and the rumors, and that's what that's what is being said behind the scenes, that she just couldn't compose herself. Just couldn't do it. I think she probably did go crazy and couldn't show up, sent John Podesta out, her campaign manager, who was highlighted in all those emails from WikiLeaks. Thank you, WikiLeaks. One of the last things that I'll bring up, and you have people like Jesse Jackson saying that the president should give her a blanket pardon. I don't know how that works. That you can pre-pardon somebody without charging them. It happened with Nixon, so that can happen. But how do you give somebody a blanket pardon? Don't you have to enumerate the many, many different things that the person did so you can pardon them for those individual things? So you just, for everything and when you were 10, you stole Girl Cookie money, you're pardoned. When you were 49, you took money from some cattle futures or whatever. I don't know. Wouldn't they have to do that? And if he did enumerate the many things that Obama pardoned her for, wouldn't he be admitting he had massive crime in his cabinet? I mean, if you had to pardon her for, Espionage Acts violations, treason, taking bribes, RICO violations, a global charity fraud, wouldn't that be kind of a, perjury, obstruction of justice? Wouldn't that be kind of a drag on his administration and hurt his legacy that reportedly he's so worried about? One last thing I just wanted to say, and this is in USA Today, and I was shocked that they saw this, did a write-up, and I read the headline, said, little chance Obama will pardon Clinton, and here's why. And one of the reasons is that she hasn't applied for a pardon. And also, it shouldn't be this way, they say in the story, but when you apply for a pardon, it makes you look guilty. She has steadfastly said she's not guilty. And of course, the evidence shows otherwise. Don't believe this false narrative about the fake news. Breitbart and InfoWars are not fake news. Don't believe this false narrative that Steve Bannon, the top pick by President Trump, President-elect Trump, to be one of his top advisors, that he's some sort of anti-Semite or some alt-white nation, white alt-nation, white ring, racist. That's what they want you to believe. That's totally false. They're not even relevant to mainstream press. And what this really represents, when Trump is calling InfoWars, when Trump is bringing on another alternative media magnet, Steve Bannon, who has ran Breitbart, it just signals how inconsequential, just how irrelevant the legacy mainstream media is. That's why people are canceling subscriptions. That's why people aren't watching their programming. That's why they're going to be and have been laying off tons of people. Don't believe the fake, false news narrative that the mainstream press is putting out. They're fighting for their survival, and they're losing. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. That helps us out. And remember, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all spiritually. Fear not. God the Father is in charge.